Oh, yes.
Excellent. Okay. So you want to start from the beginning? So
You want you to record and then you have a new series of bar mitzvah? Or?
oh, but I cannot record from my phone. It
Okay.
doesn't allow me to do it. But it's
Perfect.
fine. By you
Yeah, and then
recording, it's still on my Zoom, but it's my link.
Okay.
So yes. So again, when a person is born, all the person has in order to interact are his sensors. He has his senses. Yes. You interact with your surrounding, with the touch, the sight, the smell, taste, the hearing. And those five senses fuel the instincts, right? And fuels the imagination, as we know. Yes? The imagination is the bank of information that a person builds based on his existence, his past experiences, and through the senses that the person absorbs. Yes? Maybe to give it a little bit more flavor so that there is better clarity since we're recording. It's based on the Rambam in the 8 chapters of the Rambam, Shmone Pakim Rambam, right? A man is made of 5 kochot. The vegetative koach, right? The vegetation, nefesh, is made of 5 senses. He has 5 senses, 5 senses. He has the instinct, emotion, etc. He has the koach dimion, the medame, which is the imagination, and the pairing system, and he has the intellect. And inside the intellect, there are 3 layers. You have the practical intellect, you have the philosophical intellect, then you have the analytical intellect. When the baby is born, child is born, what does he use in order to communicate? On one end, it's his senses, and that's how he absorbs information, collects information, and he expresses himself through an instinctive reaction to those sensors, the feeling of those sensors. It hurts, he cries. He's hungry, he cries. He's uncomfortable, he cries. It satisfies, it laughs, it smiles. And because a child interacts only through the reaction, his instinctive reactions to the sensors, the information the receptors, his receptors receive, as the person grows, the person subconsciously molds his interaction with his surrounding through this matter, through this type of behavior. So what happens? Now, as the person grows, right, his receptors, his senses catches information. That information is sent to the pairing system. The pairing system scans the database of the experiences of the person, brings out the closest experience to that fits that sense, and with that awakes an instinct, an emotion. For example, if a baby touched fire and he got burnt, when the person will see fire or will feel fire, automatically that information goes to the database, the pairing system, right? The pairing system scans the database. Many years ago, I touched fire. It hurt. So the emotions come out of what? I'm scared of fire. Push back fire, right? Simple. Now, because this is the mechanism that is being used instinctively to exist and survive, because it's the survival mode that is installed in each and every one of us. Says the Rambam, people subconsciously start behaving like this. Now, we each of us, okay, we are blessed and given essential traits, 3 essential traits, as we've learned. Good, we're back.
Yes.
So these traits, these midot, allow us to identify ourselves through a certain behavior based on those each midah. And it's like everybody's wired differently. Some people have midat chesed that are more dominant. Others have midat kliya, others have midat kaas, others midat rachmanut. Right? To each their own midot. But essentially, we each come with a core essence. Now, the midot, the traits, are going to be the measure. Midah is a measure of the intensity of our instinctive reaction. Okay? So, for example, somebody that is very passive, right? He's and very patient, will react in a much softer way across the board than somebody that's very angry all the time, that snaps all the time, right? So that will determine the intensity of the instinctive reaction to a situation. These are the midot. And this is the essential engine every individual is born with, uses, and identifies himself through as the person grows. Then is added to that second natures, like we spoke about, is what people will pick up from their surrounding, their parents, their friends, education, that adds flavor and facets to the person's behavior. This is until the age of Bar-mitzva. Chachamim address this behavior as Yetzer Hara. Like the Gemara says, Yud Gimel Shanim Kadam Yetzer Hara LiYetzer HaTov. The Yetzer Hara is born 13 years before the Yetzer Hara. Why is that the definition of Yetzer Hara? Because there is no intellect really to it. There's no thought process to it. It's all instinctive reaction. At the age of 13, when the boy becomes Bar-mitzva, what happens? Or using another engine in order to interact and behave, or he is granted at that age another engine. So whether it grew within him or he's granted a new koach, a new engine, either way, at the age of the Bar Mitzvah, the person has another tool in order to assess situations. That is called the da'at. That da'at, what is it exactly? It is the medium between the absorbing of the chokhmah, the assessment of the chokhmah, the analytics of the chokhmah, and its application practically into your life and into situations. The da'at is how do you apply what you have learned and analyzed into practice, into your life. That's the power of that. The Rambam says that the key power of the da'at is the ability to differentiate between emet and sheker, between what is true and what is false. Meaning, until the age of 13, you do not have the tools intellectually to differentiate between the emet and the sheker. So you are taught about the good and the bad, right? Look at when we educate kids, we don't say it's emet, it's sheker. We say, not good, or it's bad. Yeah, or it's good. Yes, or you're nice, you're not nice. Why don't you say you're emet or sheker? Because we know that the children do not have that tool to be able to differentiate it. At the age of 13, the boy now has within him the koach, the ability to start differentiating between the emet and the sheker. But what is the issue? The issue is that we are not taught about it when we're bar mitzvah. It's not addressed. It's not explained. And essentially, we're expected to know that there is another, there's another horsepower to the engine. There's another engine that just turned on. It's like a hybrid car, right? It's like you drive a car with benzene, right? With gasoline. And at one point, the hybrid kicks in, an electric battery kicks in. And you go, but you don't know there is another engine, a source of energy. So here is the same thing. So how do we apply? What is our obligation as parents is to teach and educate our children and bring to their attention that there is now a new koach, there's now a new engine within you. And you need to apply it and you need to use it. Now, in order to use that power, you need to allow it to work. It has to now become another source of inspiration and another source of koach for you to react and behave and interact. Because until now, you've been using what? The instinct. And guess what? You've been using the instinct so much that subconsciously you don't even think twice you're using that koach. So you have to retain that behavior in order to give yourself the time to be able to use another engine that is called the da'at, and then behave based on that da'at versus a behavior based on the instinct. Good. Now, what does that take? Number one, retention of the instinct, refraining yourself from reacting instinctively. And number two, tapping into identifying that new strength that's called the da'at, and within you, and identifying it within your head yourself, so that you can now go back to it every time you need to behave. For that, we become a bar-mitzva. Now, the mitzvot are suddenly an obligation. The mitzvot, tells us the Rambam, mold us, on one end, to become regimented with time and responsibilities, and to a certain level, be regimented with a systematic behavior, right? We start doing things at the same time. You have to do Kriyat Shema, you have to say it before a certain time. You have to put tefillin for a certain time, at a certain time. Shabbat is a certain time. There are things that you're allowed to eat, that you're not allowed to eat. So suddenly your behavior is now dictated and controlled almost by outside factors that it's called the Torah, the mitzvot. Those mitzvot, like we said, will regiment your behavior. Because now you cannot wake up at any time you want. You cannot go to sleep at any time you want. You cannot eat anything you want. And you cannot behave the way you want. Randomly, instinctively. So the mitzvot will start slowly shaping. So what it will do is help you control that muscle that is called the instinct. And now, because you have the da'at, you have the ability to understand between the emet and the sheker. You now have the ability to understand and assess situations with a different light, with a different loop, a different lens. So by refraining yourself from reacting, if you want to behave and you want to interact, you need to use another koach. What is that, the koach? That's the da'at. And how do you refine and strengthen and build your da'at? Through limud Torah. The limud Torah fills your mind with chokhmah, which triggers the binah, because you analyze what you're learning. And now the da'at implements what you've learned and what you've analyzed into practice in your life. So the limud Torah fuels your da'at, and now you know better what is true and what is false, what is right and what is wrong. And you regiment your behavior through the mitzvot. So the mitzvot is what pumps your muscle and strengthens your muscle, so that you're not reactional like a child. And your learning of the Torah opens your mind to analyze and assess life from a light of truth and false versus a light of good and bad only. This is the definition of a bar-mitzvah.
Oh, nice.
This is what a bar-mitzvah is. It's that transition. Unfortunately, what happens, because we are not taught that when we're bar-mitzvah, and we think bar-mitzvah, just put tefillin and go with your parent, your father in shul Friday night and Shabbat morning, okay? And keep Shabbat, but now be more careful. And Yom Kippur, you have to fast. we look at the bar mitzvah as a burden, as obligations, right? But so we're going to keep them if we're told to, but our behavior is still fueled by the engine of the instinct. So it's essentially, we grow up physically, we might grow up intellectually, but as a person, we stay a child that uses the same engine. All we're doing is fueling that engine with different toys, but the engine is still the same engine. That's why people behave like they behave. They can be childish and they reactional and they instinctive, and then they tell, "What do you want? This is how I am. I've been like this since I'm a kid. I'm an angry guy, or I'm a cheap guy, or I'm a lazy guy. That's how I am. You're not going to change me." And the reason why the person feels this way is because the person never tapped into the other engine that has been given to him when he was bar mitzvah. So the lucky ones are taught and help to develop the awareness of the other engine and build the other engine. And the not lucky ones stay children all their life. And if they're lucky later on, some events, some friends, some teachers will spark that awareness and force them to realize that, wow, 1 second, I am not my instinct. I'm better than that. I'm higher than that. I'm more sophisticated than that. And then starts the journey of the real you, which is essentially your neshama. Now, the Zohar teaches us that like I said, we have 3 traits. Each one of us comes with 3 core essence traits, 3 midot. It is our duty and responsibility to identify them as soon as possible in our lives, because these 3 character traits that are given to us are the tools that will help us realize our potential and serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu and our purpose in this world. So, how do we do that? Based on the instinctive behavior, we try to see, where am I strong and where am I weak? Where am I natural and where am I not? And we start identifying what are the behaviors that, turn around a certain midah. And if we narrow it down, you'll see that you'll find 3 midot all the time. Once we have identified those midot, we start strengthening them with proper awareness. How? Rabbi Yerucham Halevi tells us, 40 days, 5 times a day, you do an action that involves that specific midah consciously. And then you look at the positive outcome of that effort. And you do that 5 times a day. That, after 40 days, will give you the wisdom and the ability to directly tap into that strength when you need it. So you do 3 cycles of 40 days, 5 times a day. And eventually, you now have direct access to these midot. And now you have the ability to fix them, to tweak them, and use them as part of your DNA, your spiritual DNA and nefesh DNA, and then apply these kochot, these 3 midot, one of them, both or many, depending on each situation, based on the situation. This is the journey that we start when we become a bar mitzvah, and this is why the mitzvot are so important to us, because they help us mold and strengthen that muscle to retain the instinct that is so natural to us. And through that, give the ability to the Chokhmah and the Binah and the Da'at, through the studying of the Torah, right, to kick in and now become a real presence and influence and engine and in our life. This is what we call the neshama. That is, in a nutshell, what is a bar mitzvah.
What is the seder before getting bar mitzvah? Has to go to the mikveh.
Hello, we got cut off. Yes. So, yes, a bar mitzvah is good. It's good to go to the mikveh, badai. But before that, for the bar mitzvah has to be able to be sensitive, to get sensitive to the concept of responsibility. So the bar mitzvah starts by respecting the value of time. What does that mean, the respecting the value of time? Understanding the importance of the zmanim. So for example, before he gets bar mitzvah, Kriyat Shema in the morning as a certain set time, we have to do Shema before that time. So there's sensitivity of time. Chachamim tell us also that the bar mitzvah has to fast 3 fasts before he becomes bar mitzvah. So that's coming to tell you you're in control of your body. So that's sensitivity of the control of your physical needs. Yes? And obviously, the sensitivity of the Limud Torah, the importance of the learning. So by building those sensitivity of importance of time, control of the body, and importance of knowledge and value of knowledge, it gives him the ability to already, once he's a bar mitzvah, coordinate and compartmentalize his responsibilities and the importance of each part of his life. He understands that he fuels information, that he controls his body, his instinct, right? That he has importance of time. Time is important, is valuable. So that's how you prepare the bar mitzvah.
Very good. Very nice.